Yes, now in lecture number 31, part 2, I am going to discuss the second topic, and which is the last topic of this chapter, organizing chapter number 5, that is decentralization. Now sometimes people think that decentralization and delegation of authority are the same, but actually these two terms are different. There is a little difference between these two terms, and you will be able to understand by the end of this lecture that what is a minute difference between delegation of authority and decentralization. Even this topic is very important from board examination point of view. A short question comes from this topic in the board examination, either in the form of case study or a question like what is the importance of decentralization in an organization. This question also comes in the board examination. So please note down the two important questions which can come in the board examination. Very important concept. Now what is decentralization? So basically decentralization is nothing but expansion of delegation of authority. We have already discussed what is the meaning of delegation of authority, and I have told you that delegation of authority simply means when we give the authority to the when the superior gives the authority to the subordinate to do a work, that is known as delegation of authority. Because we assume that in an organization, since there is a lot of work to be done, so a single manager cannot do the whole task himself. So he needs to delegate his work. He needs to assign the work to his subordinates for the attainment of the objectives of the organization. So basically decentralization is nothing but expansion of delegation of authority. Now I will give you an example, a very good example. Now suppose a chief manager assigns his work to production manager, to only one departmental head, that is production manager. That is known as delegation of authority, as you can see in the diagram which I have made on the board. When the chief manager assigns his responsibilities or assigns the work to one departmental manager, that is production manager, that is known as delegation of authority. But if the same chief manager assigns the work to production manager, marketing manager, accounting manager and personnel manager, means the four departmental heads, then this is known as decentralization. Chief manager is assigning the work, same thing, but he is now assigning the work to four different departmental heads, that is production manager, marketing manager, accounting manager and personnel manager. So this is what is decentralization is. So basically decentralization, very important concept. It is important to understand that decentralization is nothing but it is the expansion of delegation of authority. So thus we can say, we can conclude, as you can see on the board, delegation of authority we multiply by 2, but decentralization we multiply by many. So this is very important for you, my dear students, to understand that delegation of authority we multiply by 2 and in decentralization we multiply it by many. Now, what are the features of decentralization? I am just going to discuss what are the features of decentralization. So first feature, as you know the meaning, it is an expanded form of delegation of authority. Then second feature is it increases the role of the subordinates, as we have done in delegation of authority also. It is the process which is applicable to the organization as a whole, and then it reduces the workload of the top level management or of the senior officers. Then decisions are taken by the employees who are going to implement them, and along with the authority, even accountability is delegated. Right? So along with authority, even accountability is delegated in case of decentralization. In case of delegation of authority, accountability is not delegated, only authority is delegated. But in case of decentralization, along with authority, accountability is also delegated. Now moving on to centralization and decentralization as it is given in your NCERT book. Now as you know, we have already discussed in one of the Henry Fayol's principle. Now here that principle will be much more clearer to you. Now what is centralization? Can you see on the board? Centralization means when the decision making authority is only with the top management. Now what is centralization? When the decision making authority lies in the hands of top management only, that is known as centralization. And what is decentralization? Decentralization means when the decision making authority is shared with lower level also. That is known as decentralization. So centralization means when the decision making authority is with top management, and decentralization means when the decision making authority is shared with lower level management also. So as Henry Fayol said that no organization can work if there is complete centralization and complete decentralization. So do you remember I discussed this principle of management very thoroughly with you, that an organization can never succeed if it follows complete centralization and if it follows complete decentralization. What do you mean by complete centralization? Complete centralization means when all the decisions are only taken by top management and no importance is given to lower level management. So that is complete centralization, which is not a good idea, because the people who are working in the ground, they know better some of the problems, they can understand in a better way rather than people who are working at higher level. So complete centralization is a disaster for an organization, and even complete decentralization when the higher level management does not poke in any decision and all the decisions are left at the discretion of lower level management, that also proves to be a disaster for an organization. Your goals cannot be accomplished if you go in for complete centralization, which means completely taking the decisions by the top management, which is not a good idea, and complete decentralization when we assign the work to the lower level management without taking any accountability. That also does not prove very well for the organization. So complete centralization and complete decentralization is a big no-no according to Henry Fayol for an organization. So have you understood the meaning of centralization and decentralization? I hope this meaning is absolutely clear to you. Now moving on to the importance of decentralization. Now what is the importance of decentralization? Since decentralization, as I have already told you, is the expansion of delegation of authority, so same is the importance of decentralization as delegation of authority. So same points you have to write in the importance of decentralization. First point of importance is effective management. I have already discussed. Employee development, same points you will write for importance of decentralization, and it's a very important topic from board examination point of view. Short a question comes from this topic, delegation of authority and decentralization. So first point of importance, effective management. Second, employee development. Third, motivation of employees. Fourth, facilitation of growth. Fifth, basis of management hierarchy. And sixth is better coordination. So this question sometimes comes in 6 marks. So be very careful in doing this topic, that is importance of decentralization, importance of delegation of authority, and importance of decentralization is the same. So I hope you have understood both the topics today, that is delegation of authority and decentralization. You have to cover this topic from your NCERT book. It is very clearly given in the NCERT book. Read line by line, page by page, and don't leave anything in the NCERT book unread. So it is for your benefit, and I hope you will make your notes neatly in your notebook side by side. So have a nice day, and in my next lecture we will meet and we will discuss. I am going to give you an assignment in my next lecture, because we have already finished this unit 5 or chapter 5, that is organizing. Now assignment 5 I am going to give you in my next lecture, and along with that I am going to discuss all the case studies which I am going to give you in that chapter, in that assignment. Thank you and have a nice